I think in the last video I said that when I start this one I will just paint the white around here, but I wanted to work out all the other body work first, such as the extended rudder section. And the reason why I do the white around here first, I did that when I did the 3D printed Falcon 2000 Easy, just because it made it a lot easier masking around the windows when this was already white. I didn't have to worry about getting the masking just perfect. So I want to try that again on this one. So if you remember, I had to buy two kits. One was an F104G, which I could have used, but the panel lines in that are not good at all. The panel lines in here, there's just very few of them. I don't think, I don't think they represent anything at all. I think they were just randomly put on there to look like something, and they're raised. So that's one reason why I didn't just cut the whole rudder off of this and put on the gray one, which is an F104C, because I didn't want to have to mess with the panel lines. The difference is the length of the rudder here. So basically what I did was I cut the rudder off of this, which is just molded on all one piece, and that glue should be set, and I just bonded it to the back of this one, and I did it only on one half because I don't want to bond these two fuselage halves together yet. So if we take this apart, it's stuck a little bit. That's all right. It's still a little bit wet enough I can pull that off. Maybe. Come on. Any screw-ups I can fix. There we go. Wow, that solvent just really bled under there a lot more than I thought it would. But we'll get a closer view of that. The on the 104C rudder, it was a separate piece, so I bonded that in, and then I put on the yellow rudder from here, from the other kit, which also extended that part out on the back quite a bit as well. So I'm going to have to do a lot of cleanup here, make that look nicer, and of course when I put the other half on, it'll just butt up against there, and I'll blend that in when I put the other half on. And I'll also need to touch up the panel line here, because I don't want that to look like a rudder line, I want it to look like a panel line. So I'll fill that in a little bit, and maybe just scribe a tiny bit out so it looks more like a panel line. And I'll make sure that this is quite a bit deeper so it looks like an actual rudder hinge line, because I don't want it to look like I just glued a rudder onto a rudder, which is basically what I did. So I need to make it look like that's not what I did. The horizontal stabilizers, you'll notice that on the yellow piece it has that extra little hump here. On the gray one it doesn't, because it's molded onto the gray horizontal stabilizer, which I thought was pretty nice. That way I didn't have to worry about that little hump piece. So a little bit of fill up, a little bit of cleanup on the panel lines and on the rudder. That part should be done. One other thing I did was I started working on the exhaust of the engine here. So you got that back part of the engine, and what I did, I don't know if you can see it very well, but I painted in here with the brush, and Tamaya's fluorescent orange. I just kind of brushed in here the orange, and then I airbrushed the whole thing with a burnt iron, which is what the instructions call for. And then you've got the flame holder. They called for silver, or not silver, they called for steel. So I airbrushed that steel, and I put the Tamaya panel line in it just to make some of the details come out a little bit more. It's a little shinier than I wanted, but that's okay. And then of course these pieces right here with burnt iron. And of course the main tailpipe is burnt iron as well. Get back to that in a minute. So putting these pieces together, I'll glue them all together off camera. That goes in there something like that, and then you've got the flame holder, I think that's what it's called, goes in like that, and then finally that piece goes on like so. I think I have something a little bit wrong. That's going, it's just a little bit tight. That'll all get bonded together like that. Now as far as the orange that I put in there, I did that just to try to simulate some heat or flamage as the engine is running, because he does want this displayed in a flight position. And some of you might be thinking that that'll look pretty good. Others of you might be thinking that'll look kind of stupid, but it really doesn't matter, because once it's all together, the only way you're going to see that is if you really shine up the back end with a flashlight and really look at it really closely, because again, that goes on it like that, and it's going to be about 1.5 to 2 inches down from the tailpipe here. So I could probably paint that lime green and nobody would ever see it. So if you think that orange in there looks stupid, who cares? Do yours the way you want to do it. On the end pipe here, the actual exhaust nozzle here, and again, I'm sure my terminology is not correct. I work on corporate jets, not fighter jets. There's a photo etch detail here. I just masked off a bit, and I just lightly airbrushed that with a burnt iron. And I don't know if you can tell, but there's a few different shades that are kind of popping out of that, which kind of look nice. But that gets rolled up and kind of stuffed into the back here. That'll give it a lot of nice detail on the inside of there. So I needed to get those parts done because, obviously, those go in here, like that. And I need those in before I close the halves together. So once all of these pieces are put together, I'll go ahead and bond those in. And I'll airbrush white, as I said before. I also want to close up anything that I'm not going to be using. For example, I'm not going to be using, I believe these are for the air brakes. Those are going to be displayed stowed, so I'll put that panel over here for good. He wants it displayed with the landing gear up. Again, he wants it like it's flying, so landing gear will be up. So the landing gear doors, yeah, that goes over the seam lines, but anything that I can go ahead and put on, yeah, I may just put those on last. But I want to get as much body work done first as I can, maybe even prime everything first before I glue in the cockpit. Because once I glue the cockpit in, I want to be ready to just do the final color. So anyways, let me get all these pieces on, let me get that cleaned up a little bit better, and I'll get back with you after that. Okay, so I've had a few minor little snags, nothing too critical. For example, when I went to the hobby shop to buy the paint, you know, I got white, blue, and yellow for the color scheme, for the paint scheme. And the white I picked out on the rack, it said classic white, but they had the wrong bottle and wrong slot. So when I got it home, I realized it was white primer. So yeah, so I went back to the hobby shop a few days ago to get the paint, but they closed. And I don't mean closed for the day, I mean closed for good, and went out of business. So anyways, I had to order some paint online, and I'm waiting for that to come in. So I was kind of hoping that at the end of this video I would have had some color on it. I probably won't get the paint until next week or the week after, maybe, I don't know. So I'm going to end this one here. Just a few things I'll point out, but I'll end this one here. And the next video, hopefully, we'll be focusing on masking off and painting. I did get the cockpit in, got the pilot in there. The canopies are painted, inside frames painted, not the outsides. So they're about ready to go on. So I could go ahead and put all of that together up here. I also want to point out on the bottom, you see I have a strip of plywood here, and there's another strip of plywood on the top side of this piece that actually comes out about this far and that far. And that's where I will attach the base. And I wanted to show you that before I put the gear doors in place. There's still another door here I need to put in place. I've been doing a lot of beefing up, I guess. I added this piece just to give an extra lip for that door to sit on. I'll trim that back a little bit. I added a piece down inside here just to help bridge across the seam inside, give that a little bit more strength and support. I've got the back end of the engine there put in. I've got the, let me see if I can grab it here. I've got the exhaust part here, the tailpipe here. I got that done. I might do a little bit more dry brushing of silver on top of that, maybe. I don't know. But that goes, you know, that goes back here. Somehow I'll have to mess with that, get that to fit better. But that goes back in there. So it's coming along slowly but surely. Like I said, next video hopefully I'll be masking and painting. We'll just kind of see how that goes. So to try to keep this one from getting way too long, we'll end it here. And I do have some thoughts and concerns about paint, but I'll leave all of that till the next video. So, as always, thanks for watching.